Hello everyone and welcome back to The Plot. Today is the 26th of June and I've been away for about 5 days, so there's lots to be getting on with, lots I need to do, but today we're going to focus on weeding and I'm going to go through every single bed and weed. I was supposed to weed this bed before going. It's got a lot worse in the last 5 days. There's so much bindweed growing through here and there's supposed to be shallots and leeks in here, but you can barely see them. My shallots are looking really good actually, and I think some will be ready to harvest very soon. I accidentally pulled a couple out when I was trying to untangle the bindweed, so I took home 3 very tiny shallots, but I'm sure they'll taste nice. And my leeks are starting to bulk up nicely, which is very exciting. It was very satisfying weeding this bed. It was in an absolute state, so now I can see my leeks and my shallots. I lightly earthed the leeks up, but I did notice there was some signs of rust, so my garlic got pretty bad rust and I was hoping it wouldn't reach my leeks, but it looks like it has, so I was just trimming off the leaves that were looking like they were affected, and I'm sure these will still have plenty of time to grow quite large, but I don't know if they will get as big as I wanted and last as long or get overwintered here, but I'm sure I will have a pretty good leek harvest. On to the courgette and bean bed. So one of these courgettes is a yellow variety called Shooting Star, and now that I can see which way it is trying to grow, I am going to stake it because it is a climbing variety. So I'm going to use quite a big stick basically and tie it away from the archway, because after what happened last year with my archway falling over and collapsing, I don't think it will be safe for this big courgette to climb up onto it. I am also taming the nasturtium. So I didn't sow these nasturtium. They had obviously just dropped their seeds last year and so many have started to sprout. It's getting a little out of control. I would also like to be able to walk through the archway and with all these nasturtium it's not going to be possible soon. So I actually removed quite a few of the ones that have sprouted because I want the calendula to be like the main feature and I don't want it to be covered up by all these nasturtium leaves. So I trimmed some of the nasturtium plants and removed some of the other ones, and I think it's looking much better. I love this variety of calendula. I think they're so pretty. It's called Orange Flash. I always get the name wrong. It's because it doesn't look anything like an orange flash. Back to nasturtiums, it's actually quite funny because the nasturtium seeds I actually sowed intentionally, just they didn't sprout, but all the ones that were left in the soil over winter have seemed to have sprouted, and I actually sowed the cherry rose variety, and I think all the ones that have popped up are the orange kind. I think they're just called like tall nasturtium, and they're ones that climb and get absolutely huge. So that's a little bit annoying. I would have rather to have the cherry rose nasturtium pop up, but oh well. I'm sure the bees will be happy with the nasturtium, whatever colour it turns out to be. The bed I'm weeding next is the tomato bed, and this bed seems to be doing really well. The tomatoes are doing really well too. Along the edge of this side there is creeping buttercup growing, and I don't mind that growing, but it is starting to creep into the bed and I don't want that. So I'm just pulling out the bits that are creeping in. I need to tie these tomatoes up, but they have put on a lot of growth and they're looking more green now. They looked a little bit yellow for a few days, but they seem to be happy here. And the cosmos plants and the couple of calendulas that I put in since I had them left over, they're looking good too now. So I hope this bed will be very productive this year. On to the pea/potato/sunflower/strawflower bed. This bed has got a little crazy. There is bindweed growing in it and up through the pea structure, and if you see some little tiny pink flowers, those are oxalis growing, and I didn't plant them, but they are so cute, so I need to keep them in the bed. So I was trying to untangle the bindweed and all the other weeds from them and try and keep them intact, because I love oxalis. They are so pretty. I love the leaf shapes. I love the little flowers. I have a type of oxalis grown in my garden with much paler flowers and purple leaves. I think that one is quite common as a houseplant, but it also does very well outside. And these little oxalis, I think they're some kind of wild one, but with the green leaves and this darker pinker colour of the flower. And yeah, they're so pretty. Don't know how they got there, but I'm keeping them. These potatoes are the ones that I must have just left in the ground and they've sprouted up, so they're probably Charlotte potatoes as well. And once the foliage starts dying back, I will try and harvest them, and I'll probably put a pumpkin in the place. The peas on the right side, they are the first lot I put in and they are starting to go over. I think it's so difficult to pick them quick enough. These have been so productive and a lot of the pods are getting really big now, and I think the plant just thinks it's going to seed. And it's also been quite warm, so it's probably not the best pea environment. But the fatter pods you can still eat. I've been just picking out the peas and eating them, but the actual pod is a little bit tough now. But they taste so nice. It's lovely little sweet peas. But yeah, the second row that I put in, they are just starting to do their pods now, so they're much smaller and sweeter, and you can obviously eat the whole pod. The 3 asters I planted in this bed are looking so much healthier now, and I don't know whether it was like transplant shock or something, but the leaves just were shriveled and I really thought they were going to die. And they were like that everywhere I planted them, not just this one bed. I have some at home as well, which are still not looking great, but it gives me hope that they will perk up soon, because these 3 are doing so much better now. I'm also just going around the sweet peas and cosmos and deadheading. While I was away, my neighbour was watering for me, which was very, very helpful. We did have a couple of very hot days, and he also picked some of the sweet peas as well. But these sweet peas, they're producing so much. It's so difficult to stay on top of harvesting and picking them. every time I go to the plot I leave with a bunch of sweet peas, and there are only so many bunches of sweet peas that I can have in my house at one time. On to the 3 smaller beds and the front of the plot. So I sowed radish in this bed and I did not thin them out, and I picked over 1 kilo of radish, and that's just the little radish bulbs, not including the leaves. I pickled a load of it, and then the rest kind of just went to seed. And I know you can still eat radish, the pods. People say you can eat the leaves as well, but I can't think of anything worse. I think the leaves are just kind of like furry and hairy, and I don't fancy eating the leaves at all. So I am going to compost these. Good material for the compost at least. In its place, I'm going to be putting a couple of kale plants. They desperately need to go in. On the other side of this bed is beetroot, and I'll be harvesting some of the beetroot today. One of the beetroots bolted. So I'm a little bit worried the rest are going to start bolting soon, so I'm going to think of some ways to use up as much of the beetroot as possible. One thing that I love making is beetroot hummus, so I'll be making that this weekend. And if you've got any other recipes for beetroot and ways to preserve beetroot, I will pickle some, I suppose, and I'll also just eat it like roasted beetroot. That's my favourite way to eat it. Anything else interesting, just let me know. There's quite a few beetroot bulbs in here because I did sow them in modules, so yeah, there was at least 3 beetroots per module and it's a little bit crowded. I've also got my sprouts to get in, and again I'm planting my sprouts so late, but I think they'll be fine because even if I don't harvest them at Christmas I can just have them later on because they will just over winter. I think I'm going to put the sprouts in this bed where the Charlotte potatoes are, and I'm going to harvest all of the Charlotte potatoes over the weekend so I can get my sprouts in. I was half thinking about planting the kale and the sprouts on the new plot, but I don't know. I think I sowed a load of pumpkins and squash, so I think I'm just going to fill the new plot with those and just have something in the ground just to cover up the beds. But yeah, I think I'd like to keep my sprouts and kale in this area and then keep working on the new plot and plant properly in it next year or in the autumn. As you saw from those clips, the very front bed is one we didn't manage to get to today, and that will be next on the list of things to do. The wind seems to always come from that direction, and it has knocked the sweet pea obelisk over a little bit, so that needs a little bit of help and reinforcing, so that's next to do. And there's also quite a lot of weeds growing in there, so we need to get those out. The hollyhocks have become absolutely massive, and I'm sure those are going to need staking very soon as well. The beetroot had been a little bit nibbled, so I don't know who's been nibbling those, but I picked them anyway, and I'll just cut the bad bits off and hope I don't die. I think you can eat the beetroot leaves as well, but that's another thing that I'm just not interested in eating. I know baby beetroot leaves are nice, but when they're this big, I don't know, not too sure. I grew chard last year, and chard and spinach are two types of leaves that make my teeth feel funny. Like, they leave that weird like film behind, an aftertaste, so I'm not a massive fan of chard and spinach, and I imagine the bigger beetroot leaves are kind of like that. Not sure. I don't know about eating those. I really need to sort a compost area out, because with all this harvesting and leaf production, I need to find somewhere to put them. So I've got the Dalek bins. I am going to move the one that is on my current main plot, and I think I'll put them both on the new plot, so they're a little bit more out the way. But yeah, compost area is very much needed. So the dwarf beans are looking really good. I think another week or so and we will be picking dwarf beans. One of the things I forgot to pick today was the courgettes, and I had 2 ready, and guaranteed they will be marrows by the time I get back to the plot. So that's great. They were like the perfect size as well, so I'm a little bit annoyed at that, but I still had loads of other lovely things in my harvest basket, and I will definitely share what I'm cooking and making over the weekend, and I think there'll be a garden vlog next week for you. I'll show some clips of my garden. I've got quite a lot to do, like pruning all my tomatoes, and I've still got chilies to pot up, but it's a little bit chaotic because I have about 20 tomato plants in my garden now, because I was thinking that maybe I'd have the greenhouse ready in time, but I haven't. So I've got 20 tomato plants and about 20, or I'm not sure, maybe 30 chili plants, and they're all in my garden rather than in a greenhouse. So it's a little bit hectic, but I will show you how things are going in the garden next week. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry I didn't talk to the camera this week, but it was just too windy. It was too blustery, and you wouldn't have been able to hear a word that I was saying anyway. But thank you again for watching. I will see you next week. Bye guys.